Innovative.
Dynamic.
Gritty.
Determined.
Warrior.
This podcast is about the innovators.
The leaders on the front lines of adversity.
The all-around good people doing good deeds.
They are the civic warriors of the world. Our guests are the leaders in the nonprofit industry affecting change.
They try, they fail, they overcome.
Through their stories, we can join forces to become civic warriors. So with us, Tamar, and I can't pronounce your last name, Martirosian?
It is, yes. That's okay. That's my legal last name, but my artist last name is Caprellian.
Okay. How do you pick that? How does that happen as far as picking a professional name?
Okay, so there are two parts of that story. The first part is that when I was coming out with my first album, I was signed to Interscope at the time, and they wanted to. They didn't want me to have a last name at all. They wanted it they wanted Tamar to be the way that they kind of put me out into the world as an artist. And I was like, no, that just feels so weird. And then I was like, well, my theory was if people can pronounce Kardashian, I was like, Caprellian isn't that far off.
There you go.
and
Yeah.
I was like, this should be easy for humans.
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah, so that was the one. That was my one consideration. The other consideration was that I was really close to my grandfather, my mom's father, and my mom's maiden name was Caprellian, and I wanted to do something in honor of him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So I decided to use his last name.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was like with our family. My grandfather, he wasn't from Italy, but his parents were born in Italy. He was first generation born over here, and he was a barber for 60 years. He owned a barber shop. It's still there.
So cool.
Down in the town they live. But yeah, me and my brother and sister, a lot of our tattoos are based on
cool.
family. My brother has a barber pole tattoos on his arm. So totally get it, and that's where most of the good ideas come from is family. So that's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah. So for those folks that don't know Tamar, she's professionally recognized as an American-Armenian singer, songwriter, and philanthropist, which is why we're here today. We're going to talk a lot more about the philanthropy. But it's fun because Tamar is the only person I've met that has a Wikipedia page, which is very exciting. And before we started, one of the things that we talked about was how accurate is Wikipedia. And I'll ask you, how accurate is Wikipedia?
I don't know. The only thing I think that is accurate about telling is my age, and I wish it wasn't, and I wish it didn't have that on there. But yeah,
that's awesome. That's really funny. But yeah, so I think we're going to talk a little bit about Nvak, which means music in Armenian. So Nvak is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that recruits talented musicians in countries struggling from social, political, and cultural difficulties, and provides hyper-local, world-class music education and resources to help musicians create and distribute their own contemporary music worldwide. And I think what the really cool part is that Nvak creates opportunity where there's none. I think the important part about understanding what a charity does is really the mission and who you're there to serve. So, I think whenever we take on a client, whenever we meet people, I'm always curious, why? Why did you do it? What made you feel that that you could accomplish what you were trying to accomplish? What made you feel that this was the mission you wanted to carry out? Why that?
I think that music is such a powerful tool. I think that it has the ability to bring people of all backgrounds, of all cultures, of all religions together. It's almost this, it's such a powerful medium because it erases language, it erases religion, it erases culture. You don't need to speak the same language or be from the same place to appreciate a piece of music. And that's, what other thing can do that, right? I think everybody appreciates music.
Yep.
And I think that there's not enough funding going towards music education, and then compound that with the fact that some of these musicians live in places that there is no infrastructure
Sure.
for creating original music, or there's no music business, or there's no entertainment business. I mean, unless you live in Los Angeles or New York or Nashville or London, Paris, Germany, some of those bigger cities.
Sure.
Even if you go into, places like Albania or even, I mean, let's say Greece too, right? You really start to see that, well, I mean, a lot of these other countries are focusing on so many other social, political, cultural.
Sure. So are we in the
difficulties.
United States, but
Very true. Very true. That said,
different
though,
levels. Different
that
levels.
said,
Yeah.
if a musician in the U.S. wanted to be able to find
It's a
some
lot
level
easier.
of, if they wanted to get into arts, it would be a lot easier for them to do so. So we really kind of focus on regions that don't have any access to this stuff. And kind of going back to the why, aside from music being this great equalizer and this way to kind of bridge people and bring people together, I think that we're obviously focusing on women and girls in these regions. So I would say that it's, 80-20 female to male in terms of the ratio of the people that we're serving. And I think that music is just an amazing way to be able to express yourself and develop your own voice. And I think that musicians in these countries have unique voices that they're not able to amplify, and we want to be able to use our resources and our connections to be able to tell their stories and the stories of the places that they're living, which most people don't know people don't know where Armenia is, let alone anything about the people, right? This gives us the opportunity to be able to amplify not only their stories, but of the places, the stories of the places that they live and they come from.
Sure, yeah, and can totally relate to, the only thing I can think of outside of music that everyone can relate to, and this is just because we were there this weekend, was the ocean. Mm-hmm. I was listening to one thing that talks about how connected people are to the ocean, and I think the same thing is true about people to music. I think it's an emotional and a mental reaction. I think a lot of people find solace in music.
Yep.
I think a lot of people find passion and happiness in music. Mm-hmm. And people professionally do really well with music. There's a lot of individuals who in their own right have made a good career out of it, a great career out of it. And I think it's awesome that now you take that, you have a career in music, a background in music, and now you're taking that and then paying it forward. How do you, what made you say, I want to pay this forward, or I want to help someone else? What triggered you to do that?
I think two things. I was fortunate in that I grew up in a city where the music business was at my disposal if I just reached out for it.
Sure.
Living in Los Angeles, Los Angeles is really the mecca of the entertainment business.
Of course,
so
yeah.
if you have the drive and the persistence and the hustle, you can and the talent. Obviously, you can't be talentless and do this. But you'd be surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised.
You can rise the ranks, right?
Yeah.
You can get to know people, and you can get into rooms, and you can get the right education. So I felt very fortunate that I had that.
Sure.
So that was one thing. And then the other thing is that I had a lot of really bad experiences in the music business too. I didn't have good mentors, and I didn't have people looking out for me. And as a result of that, I got taken advantage of multiple times as a young woman in the business, not knowing who to trust and who not to trust. It's so easy to people in the entertainment business can be very, very predatory, as we've seen now with the Me Too movement that's come out.
Oh, so, with everything, yeah.
So there was a lot of that, and I wanted to protect young female musicians, and I wanted to give them the tools to be able to prevent the things that happen to me.
Sure, yeah.
So that's another huge driving factor.
I think that's awesome, and I think that's where, if everybody thought that way, we'd live in a better place.
Yeah.
If everybody kind of took the next person beyond them and helped them, come up, I think, public accounting in our business, our model, that's the only thing that makes it work is getting the next generation, they used to call it a pyramid scheme. You need the next generation to pay you out, which is somewhat true, but also there's an altruistic side of it, I'm helping someone get to where I was, and I learned everything in my life through making mistakes.
course.
There's nothing I learned from doing something positive. Someone's like,
Sure.
"Oh, great job!" I'm like, "Yeah, that's great, but what did I do wrong?" I don't learn a whole lot from that. Whereas you can share some of those call them pitfalls, call them traps that people fall into. That if you knew it ahead of time, you still got to deal with it. There's still
Sure.
confrontation. There's still things you got to deal with. But if you have that knowledge and you have that base, and you hear it from someone that's been through it, it becomes a lot more real to you.
100%.
Yeah, so love hearing that. I think that's all. I think that's really a great mission. That's where you get a strong following. You get you probably feel great about connecting with all of these students.
Of course, yeah, and I think that I think at the end of the day, like one of the things that are the foundation's built on integrity. I think that's the most important word for me in running this.
Sure.
I think that as long as we're doing things with integrity and being open and honest, not only just in all of our practices, I think that's I don't know. I think that's the only way to really have something that's long term, that's scalable, that other people connect to, and that's I think how you really build something that lasts.
Of course, yeah, and without integrity, there's no trust. Without trust, then most people don't want to work with you.
Totally.
You need it in any business,
100%.
Music, non-music.
Yep.
So you have I think from just our working together and understanding, I think you have an interesting approach towards music education. I think if you go to like your typical colleges and universities, you go to your typical large institutions or education, they talk a lot about historical. They talk a lot about classical music. They talk a lot about learning music. But I think you approach it a little bit differently, right?
Yeah, we do. Very much so, actually. We don't focus on classical music education at all. We kind of assume that if you have that knowledge, it's great, but you don't necessarily need a background in classical music.
Sure.
Or you don't even need that as the foundation to really be able to be a successful songwriter or a successful music producer or a successful singer. And the reason I'm saying that is because I didn't have a classical music education.
Right.
And I picked up piano at the age of 14. I wasn't even that young when I started playing piano.
Picked up.
Yeah, I just sat down and started playing piano
Please
one day.
describe.
Literally, that
Literally?
is literally. One day I was just like, I should probably learn how to play an instrument.
And you did.
And I just sat down at the piano and just like started figuring stuff out. I was like,
How long
okay.
did it take you?
I mean, I don't know, not that long.
Yeah.
Not that long, and
Because I've always had that dream, by the way, to just figure out how to play piano. And then I had kids, and then I was like, yeah, I have more important things in life. Or I have things that I have to tend to
Totally.
that take away my time.
Totally.
Yeah, but I had that dream forever that I was like, I'm gonna play. I wanted to always at my wedding play Billy Joel's Piano Man on the piano
Yes.
and like play it myself and sing it myself.
Yes.
I didn't get there, but I did karaoke it. I can karaoke it without a screen.
Brad,
so
are you a
that's-
Billy Joel fan?
I am.
Oh my God.
I am.
See, I knew I liked you before, but now I just like you way more.
Yeah. Heather and I were talking about it.
He's my favorite. Do you love Billy Joel
love it.
too?
Did you see him at the garden?
Yes,
Have
I've
you
seen him
him
multiple times.
You have to.
He's the best.
It's a rite of passage.
And this was the best. Last summer, our friends invited us out to the Hamptons. He has a house in Sag Harbor.
Yep.
And it's this very prominent and unique looking house in Sag Harbor. You cannot miss it if you are there. And me being obsessive and crazy, I was like, okay, what are the odds that Billy Joel is actually in his house right now?
I know he is.
He must be. The blinds are drawn up.
Right.
There's someone in there.
Oh gosh.
And so we were having lunch at this place right by Billy Joel's house, and we finished lunch, and we had like a couple glasses of wine, so I felt like
Feeling brave.
happy and feeling brave, and out we're walking right past the house, and there's Billy Joel on his like terrace smoking a cigar. And of course I had to say something because
It's not going to happen again.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, it will. I will. Billy Joel will.
You'll find him
partake.
again.
I will find Billy Joel. He will be involved in Nvak somehow.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
but I told him I told him, I was like, listen, you're the reason why I got into the music business, and your music influenced me so much, and he was so nice, and
Yeah.
he said, thank you so much, and good luck with everything, and so that was like...
Yeah, that's like one in a lifetime, and that's where you...
Amazing moment in my life.
I mean, yeah, that's when you meet your childhood hero, or you meet the person that, like, got you to do what you did, or
Totally.
you know, and especially with music, you know, if you love his music, it's, you know, amplifies
and
it.
it's so nice that he was nice too.
And-
I think that was
and that's the icing on the cake when
Totally.
when you meet him and you're like, you finally meet him and he was nice to you. You're like, all right, everything that I grew up knowing,
Totally.
it validated it.
No, totally.
I didn't grow up like, and I'll not use a curse word. I didn't grow up like idolizing someone I shouldn't have, right?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
that's-
listen, Billy Joel hasn't made the best life decisions in his life, but that's okay. His music's amazing.
you don't love him
He's
because
an incredible storyteller.
you don't love him because of the life he lives.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
You love him
exactly.
because of the music he sings,
Exactly.
and his personality and how he is on stage. You know, I mean, he's
Totally.
one of the best performers out there. Just as
I
far
agree.
as, you know, he can go in front of the Garden and perform in front of 60,000 people, and it's, you know, however old he is now too, and he's still doing it, and he's
does
still
it night after night.
yeah,
It's
and he's
fantastic.
still, you know, same way he sung it 30 years ago, he sings it today, and
Totally.
it's wild.
Maybe
yeah.
a few keys lowered, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
still sounds.
I'm sure your voice
it
changes a little bit.
Still sounds great.
It still sounds the same, right?
It
Did you ever
does.
notice that people's voice,
Totally.
like I know, like with my grandfather, like from the day I was born till like the day he died, I was like, his voice always sounded the same to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely changed. You know, when people age, especially like it exponentially ages, it always sounds the same though. Like you always remember like one voice, and I feel like it's probably the same way.
So true.
Yeah, that's funny.
Love that we have the Billy Joel connection, guys.
There you
That
go.
makes- That makes
Yeah.
this way fun. So fun.
Yeah. So on that, do you teach what Billy Joel does really well in your curriculum? Do you focus on artists or do you focus on X, whatever X? may be?
We kind of focus. So what's interesting about our programming is that it's hyper. Like when you were saying in the intro, it's hyper localized. So what that means
Mm-hmm.
is that we do a lot of research prior to going to a market and figure out what kind of music are they making in that country.
Oh, okay.
You know, what is their ethnic domestic music scene? Do they have one? You know, do they have music schools? What kind of music schools do they have? You know, we really we try and do a lot of research just so that not only are we informed and we don't want to go in there being ignorant and trying to impose our Western way of doing anything on a country that already produces incredible music in their own right. You know, essentially what we want
Sure.
to do is we want to, take some of the most, takes the talent with the most potential and really kind of not only help them make a community, but help them further their craft. But yeah, we teach songwriting, we teach music production, we teach musicians how to be able to create music on their own and kind of be self-sufficient in creating music, right? I feel like, you know, if you look 10 years ago, right, there were no female producers. There still really aren't a lot of female producers or female engineers in the music business, and that's become a really actually a topic that a lot of people have been talking about recently. How do we educate our girls to be able to be more self-sufficient in the process, in the actual music creation process? How do we, how do you do that, right?
Yeah.
It's literally kind of creating something from the ground up.
Plus, there's so many different disciplines in that. You know, it's not
Sure.
just talent. I mean,
Sure.
you have to have negotiation skills. You have to have the ability to influence people, right?
Of course.
You know,
Of
Dale,
course.
Dale Carnegie, How to Influence People, great book. But that's a huge part of it. There's so many facets of. It's not
really-
just teaching music.
It's really you said the right word. That was the discipline,
Discipline,
of
yep.
learning and applying yourself and wanting to learn the whole. We approach music in a very holistic way, right? I mean, even for me personally, right? I think if I could have gone back and learned how to do something, I was always constantly relying on male producers to help me produce the songs that I was writing.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
However, if I had learned the craft of actually creating the music from the ground up, which you do in the songwriting process, right? But then when you go into the music production process, you need other people if you don't know how to do it yourself, right?
Oh, of
so
course,
how do we
yeah.
eliminate the process of of young women needing other people and they can just do it themselves? That's a huge part of what our programming focuses on, and we really, again, we really kind of view the creation of music from a very, very holistic standpoint of, once we leave, if we're not there on the ground 24/7, which obviously we're not, we have local community managers in each market that really help us do our programming year round. But, how do we leave gear in each market and instruments in each market so that our musicians can create music year round? How do we teach them and train them on the gear that we're giving them so that they can then continue making the music when we're not there?
Right.
So that's the type of stuff that and again, each market is totally different. Like Armenia, there is no contemporary music scene. Like there just aren't places where you can go and create contemporary music. Or music. Like you don't have access to recording studios in Armenia.
Right.
They're usually run by, corrupt people in the government, and that's not, I'm not going to subject my musicians to having to deal with people like that.
Perpetuating the same problem you're trying to solve. Yeah.
Israel, for example, again, totally different than Armenia. They have a very vibrant domestic music scene, right? And there are a lot of studios that people can access and musicians can access and go and record their music. But, this year we've partnered with an organization, another NGO on the ground. The NGO is located in a pretty rough part of Tel Aviv. We're going to be donating instruments to them, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can kind of contribute and add to a community that already exists, but to make the community better.
Oh yeah, and that's I think you said it best. I think for anyone we work with, just entering any market, whatever you're doing, whether it's a charitable purpose, whether it's a business reason or whatever it is, it's difficult because you have to there's so many levels you have to understand. You got to understand cultural. You have to understand what's already there. You have to understand that, like you said before, we're not trying to impose Western ideology on anybody, and people get defensive when you do that, which totally respectable and understandable. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that aspect of it. It's interesting. I don't know that I ever could just be like, I'm going to go into Armenia and I'm going to start something. I can only imagine the challenge. That you went. I can't imagine actually. How you do that. I don't even. You just enlighten me a little bit of how you go about it.
Yeah,
right?
even as an Armenian,
meet people there
even as an Armenian working in Armenia, it's hard.
Right. Even that, yeah.
But I think already having a platform to be able to kind of, as I was joking with you guys when I walked in. The nice thing about me working in Armenia is that people know my music there, people know who I am, so it makes the process slightly easier, but really only slightly.
Right.
It's the culture is interesting in that me being a woman starting an organization, running an organization for women has been something that I've it's a very patriarchal culture and country.
It's definitely counterculture.
So it's been hard for me to be able to convince people that the organization is something that they should be involved in and helping us grow. So it's been an upward challenge, to say the least, uphill challenge. But again, like I think the one thing I don't lack is persistence. So so I will knock on those doors a billion times, and then finally maybe I'll get a yes from one person, and that's all that matters,
Yeah, no question. Do you find that I guess in 2019, do you find that technology makes things easier, harder, indifferent? Just given the fact that you probably can connect with the students outside of just physically being on the ground, but there's also challenges that come along with that.
I think it makes it a lot easier.
Does it?
Yeah. It does. I think being a small organization and we're 4 years old, but I didn't really start ramping up my fundraising. I didn't really start ramping up anything until about a year ago.
Right.
We've raised the most money this year than we ever have in the 3 previous years. There's no way that I would have been able to build this had technology not existed, because there's no way that I can be going back and forth as often.
Oh yeah, the cost is astronomical.
It's
travel
just
costs.
crazy.
Yeah, time,
all of it.
The thing no one considers, which is called jet lag.
Sure.
Kills me. I can't.
Absolutely. No, it's a real thing.
I do these one-day plane rides, and I get back and I'm dead the next day, and I'm like, why do I do that?
I know. It's the worst.
I don't know if it's like cabin pressure. I don't know what does it.
It's all of it.
Yeah.
It's all of it. It's just so...
And that's a long flight.
It is.
How far is Armenia? Is that...
So there's no direct flight. You go to Moscow first, so that's a 9 hour flight, and then it's another 2.5 hours to Armenia.
Down.
So it's it's a full 24-hour leg of just
getting there.
To back,
just getting
there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's an entire day getting there and an entire day getting back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the challenge. That's one of the challenges most people don't factor in, internationally, is that fact. Just in order for me to get from A to B, I lose a day.
Sure.
And there's only 365 days a year, and I'm sure you're busy even outside of your foundation. I'm sure you have a lot that you do outside of just Nvak, and there's not that many days in a year.
It's very true. It's so true. But yeah, no, technology has made it easier for us to find talent. We do a lot of talent recruitment through Instagram, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Through finding young women or musicians, bands who do covers of songs and put a hashtag, and then we click the hashtag and we reach out to them. It's interesting to be able to use that as a tool to find talent, and we've found some of our most talented musicians that way, actually, which is really cool.
Now, what does that look like? Because I think it's funny because you always hear. I go to a lot of conferences and people talk about this. People talk about you got to connect with your next generation, and everyone does things differently. I mean, I'm even seeing it with we hire like 65, 75 people a year right out of college, and I've seen this progression over time where you could see how people respond to things. So in 10 years ago, having conversations and phone calls was the thing to do. In 2019, it's not the thing to do anymore. Email and Skype and communicating via text message and doing that is the thing to do.
Yep.
And it's kind of like the adapt or die concept. But I'm curious, how do you take Instagram, right? Everybody views Instagram as this platform where I post. You see him, I post pictures of my kids. That's
totally.
My Instagram is not Brad Cruz's Instagram. It's Molly and Chase's Instagram.
Right.
And one day they're going to shoot me because they're going to see all these captions.
So mad. They'll be like, Dad, what is wrong?
They're going to be
you?
like, what did you say about me?
Yeah.
Nice hair? What?
Yeah.
They're going to hate me one day. I'm going to delete it before they ever find out. So. When they get their own at the age of 6, probably. God knows whenever you give them an iPhone these days.
Exactly.
But I'm curious, how do you actually tap into? I mean, because it's another country, it's another culture, but it's not. We're all part of the same same genes. We're all part of the same world. How do you tap into social media like Instagram to find somebody? What does that look like? I
mean, I think that depending on what country you live in, different countries use different platforms.
Oh, okay,
so,
sure, yeah.
I'll use Malawi as an example. Malawi does not use Instagram.
Right.
So we've been unsuccessful in finding talent in Malawi using Instagram.
Right.
Everybody's on Facebook, which is really interesting. So then we have to then figure out how to target our audience, or what we would think would be our potential audience, using different social media platforms.
So how did you find that out? What was the giveaway? Was it just someone on the ground told you that, or was that?
It was interesting. Yana was like, "There's no one using hashtags or or putting up original music in Malawi." Yeah, and then I was like, that can't be true. There's no way. And then we have a community manager in Malawi as well, and her name's Hazel, and Hazel's a songwriter and a musician in her own right, aside from doing the work that she does with us. And she was like, no, that's absolutely accurate. We don't use Instagram here. Everybody uses Facebook. So it's just interesting to see. And then in Israel, they use Instagram. Musicians use Instagram, but so much of the work that you have to do in the recruitment process in Israel is really just word of mouth and going and meeting people and sitting down with people and having conversations face to face. So it makes things a little bit harder for us. But yeah, and again, it goes back to this idea of hyper-localizing programming, right? Like no one market is the same.
You have to understand it. You
can't do the copy-paste method in the work that we're doing.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, and the effort. You know, you're a couple-person shop. You were a one-person shop for a while.
Until like 3.5 years ago.
Until recently.
Until like 6 months ago. Sorry.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And now you're expanding that, but you had to figure all this out yourself.
Totally.
And I think that's what you put all your own time and resources. You know, you've funded a lot of money to make this happen. You've done a lot, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Even in starting a charity is there's a lot of effort that has to go into that, and then every new market you go into, well, I got to figure it out. And in order for you to keep expanding your mission, you're going to enter new markets. You're going to do that.
For sure.
But I think the takeaway I have from all that is like just with any technology, and I'll put Instagram as a technology. It only goes so far.
Yes.
So like in one market, you're using it to find people, but then once you find them, okay, like that technology served its purpose. I think that's the other thing that often gets missed is that people like to use technology and think that you don't have to be adaptive or I call it like the hybrid method, right? I'll put it in accounting speak, which is really boring, but if I only use Microsoft Excel, I would not be good at my job.
Yeah.
Because I don't only use Microsoft Excel. I use anything that's going to get me to the answer.
Sure.
And that's kind of the same concept. You have to...
Exactly.
Okay, now, all right, I've never used Facebook, and I'm sure you've used Facebook before, but I've never used Facebook before. I got to figure it out.
Yep.
Or I have to find someone who can figure it out for me.
Yes, totally.
And then we have to use it.
Yeah.
But then we have to realize the utility of it and realize there's a point where I have to stop using it. What do you view as kind of like the bigger or biggest challenges that you faced? Like just high-level points of, this was the hardest thing for me, or, I hate tax returns, or whatever it might be.
Well, you have made that process very easy for me, so I appreciate that, because that was definitely, I had no idea how to do any of the accounting. It's just like, honestly, I think it's figuring stuff out that you don't know how to do. Like I didn't know.
Right.
I still don't know how to properly fundraise, or I'm not even accessing the resources that I probably should be accessing in order to be able to raise more money, because I've never done it before. You know, I'm a songwriter, a musician, I'm a creative, and now I have this organization that I run.
Right.
And it's stuff that I'm doing, stuff that is so not natural to me.
Of course.
Right? So,
and now I have to bring in dollars to pay the people that are doing this great work and to keep my program going.
The other thing that I think has been maybe the hardest is figuring out. I've been fortunate, and this is really the beautiful thing about New York, is that you meet so many young, smart people in this city.
Yep.
And I've met so many amazing, young, smart women that I wish I had. I had this girl who's amazing, and she just left me for Spotify, because of course she would, because Spotify is going to pay her seven times the amount that I can pay her, and give her matching funds for her what is it, her retirement fund.
Oh yeah, 401k plan 401k, and all the benefits you have to offer.
Stuff.
There's a cost to
that. Do that.
There's a cost to that.
Well, it's just crazy. So I ended up having this amazing girl for 3 months, and she recently left, and it bums me out, because had I it's one of those things like, if we had the ability to raise more money more quickly, I would be able to retain talented young women, and that would then be able to help me grow the organization at a faster rate. Because I think that there's so much that we could be doing, scaling to more places, and just hiring incredibly talented people.
It's going out on that limb and making it happen, and it's not easy. That's actually a really common challenge in the just charitable organization world to begin with, is that typically speaking, most charities pay less than a comparable job at a comparable sized company. So, whatever the position is, usually there's some income parity that doesn't exist, if you will.
Of course.
And that's a challenge. Heather and I just interviewed an organization where they were trying to solve that. And this is a 700-person nonprofit, big agency, $35 million budget.
Wow.
And they were like, well, how do we motivate? How do we, what is it that drives people? And what they found in just talking with people and getting to know their employees better, they found that a lot of people don't work for charities because of money. And although there are circumstances where, and especially if you're dealing with a lot more younger employees,
Of course.
they're starting their career. So they're trying to branch out. They're trying to do more. But they actually found that most employees were not motivated necessarily by more pay. And I know just in Heather and I, our generation, we're in the quote-unquote millennial generation, I'm not driven by compensation.
Right.
Do I need a paycheck to pay for my kids' college one day? Yes.
Right.
And I'm going to take a job and I'm going to make sure that happens. But
Right.
if I had the option of doing something I liked versus making another $100,000, I wouldn't do it because I totally would be like, well, I don't want that.
Sure.
Number one, I like who I work for. Number two, I'm not about it for the compensation. I'm about doing what I want to do. I'm about the charitable mission or whatever, And I think that's an important fact that is a struggle.
However, the other fact, and this is something that's hard too, is unless you come from, it's New York City is very expensive.
New York City is very expensive.
It's insane. So if you have young people living in this city, they do need to make a certain amount just to pay for rent. So where, you know what I mean? Like, which is just
which I don't even know what rent is in New York City, but I can't imagine it's anything comparable.
It's insane. So that's there are a lot of it's interesting. There are so many factors.
Yeah.
In running an organization, a small organization, and that you wouldn't even think about, like it wouldn't even cross your mind, and then you just kind of have to deal with it.
Well, of course,
as issues start to arise.
And, and you learn from it, and
of course,
But I think you're in a good spot because you're dynamic. I think you're carrying out your business same way you're carrying out your mission, and I think that goes a long way into creating a strong workforce. You're entering into this fundraising. You're doing what you're doing. How did you start? Like, what is it that you said? I'm going to do this first when it comes to fundraising. What is it that you just were like, I'm going to meet this person, or I always use fundraising as asking for $1, but it's not necessarily just asking for $1. Would you say there's a lot more that goes into it than just asking for $1?
I think so, yeah, because I think that you also have to make sure that you're aligning yourself with the right types of people.
Sure. Yeah.
Donor
selection.
I think that's so important. I think I learned that.
Not all money is good money.
No.
Not all money is good money.
No. It comes
on
with
multiple
all
levels.
sorts of wax strings and
on multiple levels.
People who I always find it so interesting when people who are donating to a charitable cause then ask, "Cool, so what do I get?"
Right.
And then you just go, "Wait, excuse me? What do you mean?"
You want a sticker?
Yeah. It's just real.
My kids made these cool banners. You want one?
You would be so surprised.
I'm not at all. Not at all.
It's insane. So those types of things where you just go, what? Those are.
Yeah.
You just have to be, you have to be careful, and you have to be savvy, and you have to make sure that you're going to the right people who understand the work that you're doing, and who will also kind of let you. Give you, trust you, and give you the freedom to be able to execute your vision. And I think that that's also been an interesting kind of trial and error process for me, where in the past we've partnered with some people who really were trying to micromanage the work that we were doing, and it's really, that just doesn't work.
Well, it kills free spirit, and it kills what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
That's more, that's the situation where they want you to operate on their behalf as opposed to funding you, right? I think there's a difference. There's a difference between we're using you to do X, Y, and Z, and you're kind of doing X, Y, and Z, and so we're going to force you into X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
And then here's money. Tell me what you did with it.
Totally.
And that's a complete. I mean, those. But
there are some organizations where you take money from them. And you have to write report. Remember, there was one where we had to write a report.
Write reports,
and that's fine, and that's all great.
Very normal. They have to do that for their compliance reasons and their accounting reasons. They need to know that you're accountable for your money. That's great.
100%.
But it does cross the line. There's a point where it does.
I'm not opposed to any of that,
right.
But I'm opposed to when you're partnering with, let's say, an organization that might be funding a very small amount of the entire budget.
Oh, right.
And then they're telling you how you should be running your organization, and it's just like, or the people you should be, or you can or cannot hire. It's bizarre. It gets very weird.
It creates a strain. You're moving forward with carrying out a mission, and it creates an additional layer of burden. But so if I were someone who wanted to donate to your organization, how would I do that? How do I donate to you?
So easy. So easy. You go to our website, and
that's nvak.org, nvak.org.
nvak.org, and there's a big donate button that
there
you cannot miss it. Brad so kindly donated to us last year. It's easy. It's a donate button, and then you can specify how much you want to donate. If you want it to be a one-time thing, if you want to be a monthly thing or an annual thing, a donation. That's
it's easy. It's pretty easy to donate money. Yeah, that's the one thing I like about 2019 is if you like a cause, it's very easy to give to that cause.
So monetary is the only thing, but you're putting instruments in these areas. Are those things that you also accept donations for, or is it strictly...
Oh, yeah. No, of course. Any big music company, we accept gear, we accept instruments, we accept all sorts of things. We actually recently partnered with this amazing organization called Reverb, and they're this online... they gave us a grant, which is so wonderful. And basically what Reverb is it's a website where you can go and you can buy instruments, new, used, gear, whatever. Really, you can buy guitars, you can buy amps, you can buy interfaces, you can buy microphones. It's really awesome. And so a lot of our, really, at least I would say 90% of the gear and the instruments that we're donating this year is because of this amazing grant that we got.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're kind of asking each really, we're looking at each space differently. Like, we asked our organization in Tel Aviv, what the space that we're doing the program. We asked them, it's called Children's School of Jaffa, and we asked them, what do you need? And they gave us this entire list. Like, we need microphones, we need some guitars, we need, you name it, like a bass and headphones. And so, yes, we take donations in all shapes, sizes, and gear, instruments, all of it, because all of the markets need those things.
Of course.
And we want to leave stuff so that our musicians can make music year round and do it in a self-sufficient, holistic way.
Awesome. So, of all the things you've done so far, what are you most proud of? I'm sure you've had an impact in the last 4 years that you've been doing this. What's your most proud impact that you've made?
It's such a hard question, because I feel like every day there are little wins that I feel like I go, oh yeah, this is awesome. I really think using Armenia as a case study for me, especially because I'm Armenian, and there's so much there's just so much personally for me that again, it all ties back to my grandfather, who did a lot of philanthropy in Armenia, and I really feel like I'm trying to kind of continue his legacy through the work that I'm doing. But being able to provide jobs and opportunities for young women in Armenia is something, is something that is such a big victory for me. Every day, I feel fortunate and blessed that I have the tools and the funding and the just ability and the wherewithal to be able to continue doing the work in that region in particular, because I really do think that we need it there.
Yep.
We need to empower women's voices in Armenia, and that to me every day is a win. To have Yana as our community, to have her working with me every day, and to be empowering.
And just right there, you probably don't even think of it, but just right there, you've touched a life.
Exactly.
Exactly.
There, it really
there
starts with one person,
person.
And then growing the network and really creating a vibrant community of people who are passionate about the creation of art and about helping and giving back as well. That's another thing that we really infuse within our organization, is that, you know, you also then have to pass it down to other people.
Oh, right. So yeah, it's the pay it forward, you know.
Exactly.
We're teaching you, we're doing this, but
Exactly.
what we want from you too is then
Yes.
we want you to help the next person and the next
100%.
person. Yeah. And that's how you create a real impact.
Exactly.
That is the impact.
Exactly.
Is when people, not to say it this way, but when people don't need you,
Yeah,
and that's when you know you did your job.
totally.
Yeah, which is cool.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's what I know with our profession. Whenever I see someone, they don't need me anymore, and like people think that like, you know, I'm a partner, like I want, like, I have all this control.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want control. I want
Totally.
you to control it, and I'll be here to help you. And when I get to that world, I love it
100%.
because then I'm helping someone. They're doing it on their own. They know they have a resource, but I'm not like controlling them. I love that's a win
The
for
best.
me. When I know that they're going to be a partner, like if I have someone that they make partner after me, I'm like, great. Like I contributed to their, maybe not contributed, but I helped them however I could to get to where they needed to be
Exactly.
or wanted to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the podcast today. On our next episode of Civic Warriors, we have Barbara Heisler, the CEO and Executive Director of Glassroots, super cool not-for-profit located in Newark, New Jersey that's doing some innovative things, undergoing a capital campaign, expanding their mission by moving into a new space, and really just making a significant impact in the city of Newark. Until then, make sure you subscribe to Civic Warriors to help increase the impact our guests make in their communities. And as always, have a great day. Bye, everybody.